So now let's talk a little bit about the wonderful speaker we have for today. We have Victoria Ubaldo, and she is a Women Who Code data science track lead and is currently working as a data engineer at Interbank in Peru. And she has a master's degree in computer science as well as a degree in system engineering. She's also a volunteer in Techmakers in Lima and a co-organizer in the Google Developer Group. And she's really passionate about technology, data, and innovation. So we have a really great speaker lined up for today. And yep, over to you, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Ubaldo. I'm from Lima, Peru. I'm a Peruvian, so very happy to be part for Women Who Code in the track of data science. Well, here in this session, I want to share more about how can you use ChatGPT in the next level. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second. Oh. Sorry. Okay. You can see my screen. I think yes. Okay.
Yeah, Victoria.
Okay. Well, in this session, I'm going to discuss or first as introduction about how can you use ChatGPT to build your own assistant, your own chat. First, in the chat, could you tell me who use ChatGPT or who knows ChatGPT? I guess everyone are used in the new days. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Yes, Julie, Caroline, Presley, Shakira, Carmen. Yeah, everyone. We use ChatGPT. Well, these new technologies using generative AI, LLMs. This is a new tool for create content, text, images, whatever. So in this session, I'm going to first a little introduction about ChatGPT, generative AI, then some key concept. There's a little review of how can use ChatGPT, and then I'm going to show you a good use case using your data. For example, some PDF if you have good lectures or books or text if you want to use that data with an assistant. So I'm going to teach you how can use that. So let's start. First, introduction, what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is a language model developed by OpenAI. It's capable of understand and generate human-like text. For example, if you write for as a Stanford professor, please tell me how can I learn data science? And then ChatGPT acts like a teacher, like a professor, and then tell you. What's more, has quickly become a state-of-the-art model in the field of natural language processing. In my master, I do my thesis about how can use machine translation using natural language process and also a transformer. And I remember the hard part was not only collect the data, but generate the computing for use translation and have good model for that. So I guess using ChatGPT for translation is more easy right now. And then it's the ability to comprehend and generate text has paved the way for innovative application in areas. Who watch Twitter? Well, actually X. See videos or new applications for ChatGPT for business or financial or new generate ChatGPT for Excel, or I don't know. Nowadays, it's not only ChatGPT, it's Copilot for generate code. Nowadays, we find different applications use ChatGPT as a generate human-like text. So first, some key concept about that. We need to remember that natural language processing is a branch of artificial intelligence to focus on how our system can understand, interpret, and generate human language. Also, remember about neural networks. It's building blocks of ChatGPT, another large language model. Neural language is the key to process and learn patterns as a humans. For textual data, enable the model to make prediction and generate text. Then about training data and algorithms. Remember that ChatGPT is training the data. I remember is before or after 2021. I guess ChatGPT 4 could connect to the internet and have more database to predict and generate text. But nowadays, training data also depends of the quality of prompt engineering that we write, how we write the prompts. And also large language models is these complex artificial intelligence models that train on vast amounts of text data to understand and generate human-like text. So two key concepts more, fine-tuning. What is fine-tuning? If you check some documentation about ChatGPT or BART or Palm or Llama 2, you can find fine-tuning involves exposing the model of ChatGPT to task specific data, which help you specify in areas that like answering questions, providing customer support, or generating creative concept. I remember in my thesis in my master, I do some fine tuning. Like I don't start to build my model with zero with using my data, but also have a model with good accuracy. So I remember create a new data. So this the new model behind this model with good accuracy. So this is a good work or practice for fine tuning. The other concept is transfer learning. It's a key concept of ChatGPT development. The model's knowledge gained from training or best data set can be transferred and adapted to various tasks with relative like additional training. So that is transfer learning. Well, about ChatGPT, the basic of ChatGPT, if you are using ChatGPT nowadays, you know that you need to use that input. Then ChatGPT gives you output if you provide you text, some paragraph, some histories. It's also contextual understanding. If you start talking about, I don't know, data science, and then you continue asking about that, about Python, about pandas, about NumPy, then ChatGPT act like a instructor, like a teacher, and they continue. If you want to ask more questions, the ChatGPT or that technology have a transformer model, but also the framework called attention. So attention is very important here because this model acts like as a human. If yesterday I remember how can prepare I don't know some food. Today I can remember the recipe because yesterday I had the data, the knowledge about that. So this mechanism is very similar here for contextual understanding and conversation history also, because that model have memory, have attention like us, like humans. He can remember the ongoing conversation and provide you meaningful responses about that, about the continued interactions. And also integration into application, ChatGPT can be seamless integrated into various applications, enhancing human experience and functionality. I can appreciate the good UI have ChatGPT, so everyone can engage, have good engagement in that. Well, how can you start a conversation in ChatGPT? You can initiate a ChatGPT session, sending user message, handling responses, and maintain concepts. So I'm going to teach you a little example about that. I'm going to enter my console in ChatGPT. I'm going to say hello as a teacher, as a Stanford teacher. Please give me a plan with 5 weeks about learning data science. I don't have a programming experience. Please give me or add resources, links. This is an example. Okay, so remember, as a good prompt is tell what is the role, then the instructions, if want to have more details, and the output is very fine because he tell me what can I if want to learn for 5 weeks about data science, in case about if I don't have experience in programming. So it's very nice that's output. So yeah, this is the good option about that. So that is a good way to have a good conversation with ChatGPT, send them user message, handling model responses, and maintain the concepts. No. So I want to maintain the concepts. I want to say, please describe more about this week. Okay, so he's describing more about what activities are going to learn in this day. So it's a other good way to learn. Okay, for continue, sorry, for the presentation. Okay, before create our own ChatGPT, we need a chat interface to call the OpenAI API. I guess someone is asked, okay, Victoria, it's good that you the UI for in the ChatGPT console, but well, I know Python, I know SQL, or I know the basic about how can use programming. So how can use a ChatGPT as an API, but also what I need to have a good interface for call the OpenAI API. First, for the OpenAI, I'm going to teach you about Lanchai. Lanchai is the solution to have a good UI in our environments. Lanchai is a framework to develop an application powered by a language model, offers an OpenAI chat interface to call the model's API into your application. And how can you use Lanchai in the solution? This is how can you import Lanchai. But before that, I'm going to tell you more about the setup because it's very important to be focused here. First, choose a programming language. Python is very recommended here. Then install libraries such as OpenAI, GPT-3, and don't forget the Lanchai library. So let's jump to the nice notebook here. I'm going to tell you more about how can you use the OpenAI. So I'm going to tell you that if you use in case my example, I use if you have accounts for platform openai.com, you can use your API keys, right? Here I put my key. This is my key. But in your case, you can add new secret key here. But also remember that is limited. You need to use some, in my case, I put $10. I remember the last one was $10. The last intent that I can use for this experiment was minus the $1. So it's okay to some tests, some MVPs if you can try that. So how can you can put your credit card and then you can check how can you, but I recommend you put $5 or $10 for that. Okay, here is my notebook. Here is the basic libraries, pandas, matplotlib, transformer is the more important, OpenAI, and here is installation about that libraries and well, very important transformer. And this is my OpenAI APK. Sorry, what can use more? Okay. Then acquiring the API access, logging in OpenAI platform, view your API keys. Billing is part as you go. If you don't use your key, you don't waste your credit here. So no problem. If you wanted to generate, for example, 1,000 words text using GPT-3, it will you cost $6. But for this example, I'm going to teach you that it's not $6, probably $1 or minus of that. So what is the use case for today? I'm going to teach you how can use an assistant that acts as a PDF reader. So as I input, could be a story, a paper, or your favorite book, or a paper. Then the assistant acts as a PDF reader. You can tell you, okay, chat, tell me more about the protagonist, or about the history. What is a paper about? And then the PDF reader assistant said, sure, the protagonist was a superhero, or well, the paper was about that is the use case for today. So what's your opinion? Is a good challenge? For what's we need? Also a PDF. We are used the famous paper about attention is all you need. If you don't know what is this paper, I'm going to tell you this is the link for the paper. Attention is all you need is that the paper talking about transformer, how can use convolutional neural network, and it's a basic to understand transformer and also how is work ChatGPT, BART, and this assistant. So I recommend you to read this paper. But for our experiment is only that. How can we work with this paper? So let's jump to this part. So for the process, I'm going to put my PDF file in the notebook. Then I'm going to call the large language model using some methods. Then I'm going to change or use the PDF to translate to vectors. So a different way to with Python can understand what is the text about. And then using LangChain, I'm going to use my OpenAI API, the API with my key. And then I'm going to write some questions. The LangChain, this tool is giving me the outputs as an answer. So how can we work here? So here is my key. I'm going to play here, and then, well, the first step is loading the PDF and chunking with LangChain. So here is my PDF. I'm going to load, then I'm going to split the text, and this is the output. Okay. So here is the text. Here's all the information about all the text. So yes, very large. Then I'm going to embed the text as store embeddings. So the first step is to use the method OpenAI embed divs. Then I'm going to create a vector database with this word called Face. Face is an open source library for search and clustering of dense vectors. Remember, if you work with natural language process, the text is reading like a vectors, like a array. So it's very important to have tokens and vectors in this part. Okay. Then I'm going to set up retrieval function to check similarity searching working. In this part, I'm going to ask who creating transformer. This is my question. It's as I can read that. For example, if you can put this part, I guess in ChatGPT, then more information could be about the paper or for other kind of information. But in this part is only your data, is your PDF. So if you want to have the more custom question, it's necessary to have more data in this part. So I'm going to ask about that. Okay. So in this way, the function is give me all the information for that question. So the UI is not very good. So I'm going to use a different way to train that that question. So in this part, I'm going to use a variable called change. In here, I'm going to load me OpenAI like this part is parameter with necessary, and then the change type is staff. I learned some other different types, but for this case, I recommend you to put this. And my query is who's creating transformer. So for the DB is here, remember, was created in this part, the variable. I'm going to search similar search for my query, who's creating transformer. Then I'm going to run that. Okay, transformer was created, but I think, yeah, it's a good. Other question. What is attention? I don't know. Attention is a mechanism using the sequence extraction model that connects an encoder and decoder. Okay, in the chat, give me a question to put here to test in live. Okay, so these are other questions. What about, I don't know. Well, we can try in this part, because here is the part that we can create our chat with memory. So this part is optional. For example, if you can use a better UI in this part. Oh, we have a question. Can you tell the vector database to use them? Okay, what is the use of temperature and change time parameters? It's a good question. I read about the chain type. It depends of what is the precision about my answer, because remember that here we have a very large question with all the words for my paper. So here is to generate we have a integrate output, and also I don't know if we need to change other kind of number here, but in some tests and MVPs I created with this kit, I maintained the temperature here with 0 and was okay. And the change type, I know that have other kind of types. I recommend you to look more about the documentation about line chain. But I think it's okay if you want to try your first ChatGPT assistant. So yeah. Can you tell the vector database you're using open source library doesn't need to store memories? Yeah. The vector type it could be here, right? Yes, it's storing the memory. Yeah, it is in memory here, so it's correct. Does increase the memory gives you more relevant answer? Could be increasing the temperature. So we're trying to read more about these parameters, but it's okay. Good question, Sharika. Thank you. Well, in this part, I'm going to tell you how can use chat similar about here. So this is very simple. It's a function called onSummit that have a query. In this query, I'm going to put the start of my my chat, and then in the result, I'm going to put my question and then maintain the history about it using the context. You asked what query was. We can put. Can you ask what the novel contribution the paper is? Yes. I'm going to put here after the run. We're going to try to, okay. Okay, can you ask what the novel contribution of the paper is? It's Transformer, a new architecture-based solid identification with super inequality. Yes. Thank you, Christine, for your question. So this is other type of you can use your ChatGPT API, your key, your question, and also your data. If you have a paper more large with more pages, no problem. It's not $3 or $5, could be $2 or much. So to discuss how different kind of questions or your use cases. So this is a good use case. For example, if you have homework with I don't know, more pages, or for a meeting you don't have enough of time to read, you can upload your PDF and then ask questions. That could be a good resource. And also, if you have transcriptions for some videos about, for example, YouTube or different kind of videos, if you want first that the transcript that in PDF, you can upload in your notebook and then ask questions. So this is other kind of use for this activity. Well, more about that. Additional tools you can use. HackChat is another part of other way to use APIs. Different kind of tools to discover how can create your own assistant with your data. Also remember Palm API. First, BART is using Palm 2. So imagine that use the power of BART in your open system. So how can you use this with Palm API? It's very similar as the OpenAI API. So the difference could be the billing. Well, some configuration, but the use is very similar. And also Llama 2 is other open source like you can use for create your own assistant. So try to check more documentation about that. Well, my final words. This is a basic use case, but it's very challenging because it's using your knowledge about Python, your creativity, using your own data, your common sense, your language, your queries, your questions. So I can guarantee you that about innovation and using data and using your own purpose is very important to build. So try to use your data, your good knowledge about your career. For example, if your first time using Python or using ChatGPT, it's not difficult to enter here. So WWCode is that the track of data science, you can find different resources to learn more about it. We have some large language models session before, so you can check in the YouTube channel. Well, yes, that's all. Thank you so much for listening here, and thank you for being here in these sessions. So if you have questions, I can answer.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you so much. That was a really wonderful session. And thank you for promptly answering the questions that were there. So I think It was really enjoyable. And if anyone has any questions, please do ask it in the Q&A box. We have a question. Do we put our API key in the terminal when exporting?
Do we put the RPAI key in the terminal? In the terminal is not recommended. We can use in the inputs in here in the notebook. I can show you again to check where is I put my, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. You see my screen or not? I'm going to,
Now I can't, but yeah.
yeah, okay. Here is my key. So after I use my key, so right now it's not available to see, but if you want to create a new key, for example, test, new, create, oh, sorry, some validations for OpenAI. I don't know if it's, oh, this is the last one. Give me a second. I'm not a robot. I don't know what is going on here. Well, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you. Oh, I don't. How can I change my screen? But well, here is where you put your API key, and then your with this OpenAI with its environment, you can use all this information about using all the functions, methods about the OpenAI. So start here. So I recommend you to put your ChatGPT here, the key here, and yeah, you need next you need to continue all the work.
So again, we have a question. Do we need to code in Collab Notebook or can we use VS Code?
I recommend you also Visual Studio Code. If you feel comfortable here, you can use your notebook. You create your files notebook, and then if connect easily using your simply similar libraries and your API, so it's okay. The other questions, are there certain kinds of documents that work best when loaded PDF? For example, the paper about attentions is 15 pages. So it's a good kind of data if you want to do some first tests. If you have more data, remember it's more cost. So if your project is, if you want to try, your case is more about ask all the data, all the paper, all the book. You can use some other, I don't know, put more GPUs or TPUs for the computational. The infrastructure could be more expensive also. So yeah, I recommend you to try to use first your first papers or information or PDF, the small ones, and then try the large. And the large is okay. You can use for 50, 100 pages. That depends on what kind of how much dollars or money you can invest for your project.
I think that's a really good answer. Thank you for that. Okay, we have a question. How can you protect the API key when you put it on GitHub?
Okay, it's a good question. So it depends the security if you want to, for example, when I was search about projects with using the API key, also when I was searching GitHub repositories, I didn't find the key because it's very important that if you want to upload your code, try to don't put your key here. For example, in my case, if you want to share my notebook, I can try then my other key or try to not put my key, the API. So it's more about security, for quality also. So I recommend you to don't put your API keys because it's for your protection. Also is we don't have encryption here. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense. So that's good advice. Thank you. So we have like a question on the chat. Please, from Christine, who says, please can you elaborate on the dangers? So Christine, I'm assuming you mean the dangers of putting the API key on GitHub. So maybe Victoria, you like to take that up? Yeah. So yeah, Christine means, could you elaborate on the dangers of putting your API key on GitHub?
Okay. First, the API keys for in the platform OpenAI. I'm going to share my screen again. It's very important to this API keys as other keys is necessary to check when was the last used. Remember right now I create a new test. So if I check when I created and what was the last use, I can monitor that. So try to check frequently about this panel for check your keys. Remember, don't try if you want to collaborate with a team, well, you can share your key, but I recommend you to maintain you in secret. I don't know if this can answer your question.
I think that was a great answer. Christine, if you do have any follow-up questions, please do ask that. She asked, aside from someone using your money, what is the security problem?
Okay. I think that in this platform you can monitor also the use because you know when you use your key for some for notebooks, for operations. So it depends also the data. If you don't use the key, remember the billing is pass as you go. If you don't use your notebook, it's don't waste your money. So for other kind of securities, OpenAI recommend you to maintain in very confidential your keys. Try to don't put your keys in some public repositories as a GitHub. But in this for this session, I show you my notebook with that key, but I don't know that after that I'm going to delete and create other. So remember that this also depends on how can you use, but is necessary for it's as a password, right? So you know that what is the ethical ways to maintain your credentials. So well.
That makes sense. And we have our lead has also put a long answer on the chat. I'd urge everyone to give that a read as well. All right then. So great. I don't think we have any further questions. Thank you everyone for attending today's session. I hope you all learned something new. And thank you, Victoria. Your session was really amazing and very informative. So do submit all your feedbacks in the form that's there in the chat. So yep, apart from that, do register for our upcoming events as well. And see you in them. Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.